I don't know about you, but I've heard nothing about what Arsenal should do in the transfer window this summer. But luckily, I'm here with Sensible Transfers, where we look for weaknesses in squads and find solutions to those problems. Now, it's not what we think they will do, it's what we think they should do. So, what should Arsenal do? Well, let's look at some data and figure that out, because Arsenal have become slower and more pass-heavy in their build-up under Arteta. We know they build up really slowly. By playing lots of short passes, Arsenal have control of the ball and they can get to the final third in a controlled setting. However, this means that their opponents can get back into their defensive shape, and it means that when you get to the final third, you often get this kind of horseshoeing effect where they're trying to find an opening but they can't quite do it. Or are they? Because over the past couple of seasons, they're scoring a lot of goals. In fact, this season, or the last season that just happened, they scored the third most goals of any team in the league. Does a striker actually make that much of a difference? Maybe sometimes. So we should find them one who isn't the same kind of player as Kai Havertz. What they have in Havertz up front is someone who doesn't really have that clinical cutting edge. He does produce in front of goal. He scored and assisted 20 goals 2 seasons ago, 12 last season. But what you want is someone who can give you some of what Havertz gives, some of the link play, some of the dropping in, but who also is going to play in the last line, make runs to make use of all these chances from those dangerous areas that Arsenal are providing. And I think I know who it is. We know who they're linked with. It's Viktor Gyökeres and Benjamin Sesko, and it's one of them. And I think Benjamin Sesko is the player Arsenal need to bring in. Now, they're not completely different when you profile their actual numbers. Sesko looks a bit weaker in some things and Havertz looks a lot better in others, and that's because he's involved so much with the play, whereas Sesko is more of a pure striker. And here's an example of Sesko doing something different to what I think Havertz would do in a similar situation. RB Leipzig are going from right to left, they're attacking. This is Sesko highlighted. Ball comes in behind. He's a tall guy, Arteta likes that, very physical and strong, but athletic. He has the pace to get in behind. Now in this situation, I've seen Havertz reach the ball and slow down, waiting for others to join in, and people don't want to go too close to him because he's really good at protecting it, whereas Sesko is going towards goal, and he takes a shot here on the outside of his right foot that goes over the keeper and in. It's kind of a moment that only certain players would really attempt. You've got a lot of confidence to try it, but he still does it and makes it work. Another example of Sesko making a run that I don't really see Havertz making an awful lot of. Here he is making this run from out to in, just through the defenders. He's spotted the through ball coming in and gets in here. And again, he's got power, pace, he can get into these positions, but also a bit of trickery. So when he pulls the trigger here, well, he's about to pull the trigger here, the defender completely falls for it and launches himself into a slide tackle. Stay on your feet, don't go to ground. Sesko plays that, cuts onto his right foot and bends it into the corner. A really clinical finish. And so what you get with Sesko that you don't get from Gyökeres or other strikers they've been linked with is a lot of what Havertz does. Because Havertz is very, very important to Arsenal in all the things that Arteta wants to do. And if you lose that, I think what you end up is someone who might just score a few goals and not contribute enough throughout the whole season, which is why Sesko is so important. He's an all-round striker with a high technical level, a high physical profile. I just think that's the kind of thing that Arsenal would need long term. But what about a different profile if Sesko's not available? I was thinking about Marcus Thuram at Inter. He gives them something different, play more on the last line, an accomplished, already ready striker who can come in and do a job as well. But I want to find a sensible transfer, one that maybe you've not heard of, one in the traditional mould of sensible transfers. And I found one, a player who I think could be a star who isn't quite there yet. And that player is Tierno Barry of Villarreal. Now, this guy is a young 22-year-old forward who plays through the middle. He hasn't quite established himself as a first teamer yet, only joined from Basel this season. But I see big things for him in the future. If we look at his profile, what we see is that some of it's all right, but his passing is not very good. And what I see with Barry the more I watch him is he's not very careful with the ball. His decision making isn't great, but the way he distributes it isn't fantastic. That's the kind of thing you can work on. Because what you get from him is someone who is tall, strong, fast, knows the way to goal, and quite clever with his movement. So you've already got a player who can link well with the midfield, even if his passes are a bit astray, but when he goes for it, he's very hard to stop. And he scored 11 goals and 4 assists this season as well, off an XG of 12.5. So he's getting a lot of XG, which is really important. He's generating chances. Oftentimes young players are a bit inconsistent. I think he's slowly becoming a bit of a player. But there are weaknesses and there's strengths. So I'm going to show you this example of him playing against Barcelona. The ball's broken loose, he's going to jump onto it. And like I say, he's very fast. He can play in the wing as well, so you've got that kind of profile. Now when he runs towards it, he takes a touch, which I think is too close to his foot, which gives the defender a bit of an option to come towards him. He keeps running, he pushes it too far in front of him, and Inigo Martinez can just stick a foot out and easily clear it. It's a bit careless with the ball. Loads of examples from the same game where he's trying to pass it wide and gives it straight to defenders. But here he is moving out into the wide area, so trying to receive the ball, helping to link up, the kind of thing that Havertz does an awful lot to get Arsenal out of danger. He receives the ball with his back to goal, The defender's really tight to him, he's really strong, holds him off, and he's agile. So he turns, pushes the ball around him, and is away, and then runs directly towards the goal. There's lots of examples of him taking on players on the outside. He's fast enough to get past them and runs towards the goal, and either sets up someone for a shot or takes a shot himself. And I think this kind of player that can open up a defence out of nowhere is kind of what Arsenal need. Someone a bit explosive, someone who gives them something a bit different. He wouldn't start every game, but he wouldn't have to. And so that is Arsenal's striker situation sorted. That's the only problem they've really had. Or is it? Because I think Arsenal already actually score quite a lot of goals, and in Havertz they have a player very important to how they play. Jesus is a reliable backup. I think maybe what they actually need is to have goals on both flanks. You have Saka, who's a world superstar on the right-hand side, can do things out of nothing, but you've got Martinelli on the left, who although is good, I think lacks some of the X factor that Arsenal maybe need. And what we really have to do is find this world superstar who can come in and make Arsenal absolutely lethal on the left side. And I think there was a huge opportunity here for Arsenal to try and bring in a player like Rodrigo of Real Madrid. One of the best players in the world, has not really considered it. His numbers are astonishing when you look at what he can do. He can play across the front line as well, which is super useful because they've got lots of different options. It means you can play him at the same time as Martinelli as well. But the thing is, although you think of Rodrigo as being a right forward, he actually scores more goals when he plays off of the left. So what you get from Rodrigo is a player who would then be able to create things out of nothing in tight situations. Real Madrid often come up against teams defending a low block, just pull the defender out of the way, burst past them and get a shot away. When you watch Martinelli, for me, too many times he's good in transition, runs into the space, but when he's fronted up 1v1 with the defender, he can't quite go by them, the shot is blocked and the move breaks down. And if you compare the two side by side, you can really see the difference in what Rodrigo's outputting versus what Martinelli is. Of course, this is team dependent and Arsenal had a lot of struggles this season, but when you're come up against those low blocks that we know, because we know they build up slow and teams get back against them, someone who can open them up in a heartbeat, that's what you need, and that's what Rodrigo does. Now, Rodrigo would be very expensive, so is it sensible? I'm not sure. It's definitely what they should do. But I'm going to raise you another player who I think might be the explosive, individual, creative, chance creator, goal-scoring man that Arsenal could do with. And that player is Bradley Barcola of PSG. Because the thing is, PSG have loads of good players, and Barcola's not guaranteed a starting place, but he's more than good enough for that. So if Arsenal were to take him on, they'd have this player who could compete for Martinelli at this place. My problem with Martinelli, to explain it again, is that when he gets to these positions, I just think he doesn't have there's something, the little bit you need to get a shot away that actually turns into a goal, and oftentimes he'll just play the safe kind of pass. Whereas Barcola, I think, is more likely to go outside, to go through, to make something happen both in open play, in transition. It's the kind of thing Arsenal need. That's what I think they need. More of a goal threat on this left-hand side, which would correspond with bringing in someone like Šeško, not Gyökeres. Because if you have Havertz playing here as well, this player, if you think of the Liverpool team with Firmino and Mane and Salah, the player in the middle has to link with players so that these can be the really lethal ones. And I think in Saka and someone on the left like Rodrigo or Barcola, it would make Arsenal so much more dangerous, and they wouldn't lose the control they get from a central striker who can link with the midfield. So we have now fixed Arsenal's goal scoring issues. They will win every single competition that they enter next season. But what about squad depth? Let's have a look at what they've got and whether there's one more position we can fix. We've already fixed this left side. We think they're going to bring in Zubimendi. He may already have arrived by the time you've watched this. Perhaps an attacking number 8 would be quite useful, but I think when Munir's got this kind of covered and they've got Marino on the other side, that's okay. And so I'm going to look for a young centre-back who can provide competition 2 and cover 4. They're two main centre-backs. We know Arsenal are looking for this. It's in the deal sheet. We're going to find a player who can do that. But I also want someone who can play and cover this defensive midfield position, because that would give them extra squad depth and is extremely, extremely useful. And I've got the perfect player. And it just so happens that player has the greatest name in all of football. It's Ryan Flamingo. He just won the league with PSV Eindhoven, playing as a centre-back, but also at times as a holding midfielder. He can do both. And as you'd imagine, that means that his passing is excellent, and it's reflected in his data, as you can see. This is the kind of player that would be able to break lines with passes, help Arsenal move forward more quickly so they're not quite as slow in their build-up, and maybe fix some of the problems that we had earlier on. Zubimendi will fix some of those actually when he's there. But he does play in the Eredivisie, so would he be ready to play in the Premier League? Well, let me show you him playing against a potential opponent, even a potential teammate in the Champions League. This is Ryan Flamingo playing against Viktor Gyökeres of Sporting. You may have heard of Gyökeres before. Now, Gyökeres is a big lad. Flamingo's about 6 foot, but Gyökeres is bigger. So look at the way that he defends this really, really well. The ball's coming in to Gyökeres in his favourite position on this left wing. He's going to try and turn him, but Flamingo is straight on, as tight as he can go without fouling him, making sure that Gyökeres cannot turn him, and manages to nick the ball out of him, uses his body well, knocks him out of the way, sends the giant Gyökeres flying with one little swift move. Flamingo is ready for the Premier League, in my opinion, and And when he wins his ball, he's then sensible with the decision making, where he passes it, how he passes it, moving play forward, helping a team like PSV win the league. That would be my sensible pick for a long-term future centre-back for Arsenal. So that's what I think Arsenal should do. Maybe they could do, don't know if they will do. If you want to find out what they will do, you should read the deal sheet in The Athletic. It's where all the real reporters give you actual real news of the things they are actually really doing. Not this, which is my sensible choices, as I've already said.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Amy Lawrence and James Horncastle. With the latest transfer news and insights on every Premier League story that matters, theathletic.com puts you inside football, and you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.